Jon Jones, is now negotiating his next fight. Let me show you this article real quick. Very, very, very exciting. I was talking to one of my students about this today as well. What this could mean for the UFC and for pay-per-view sales and all this stuff. Jon Jones believes he will more than likely fight in the UFC in 2025. So he did an interview with the Schmo. So check this out. This is the section right here. So right now, the UFC and I were in negotiations. We're in talks to see what happens next. I'm back in the gym. I did tell you this, I think, on Monday or last Friday, because he did post a video of him back in the gym already, which is cool. I'm training. I feel really great. The team support, they're right behind me, and we'll just be ready for whatever opportunity comes our way. Very interesting. Very interesting. There is a dollar amount in mind, but I'm not going to discuss that publicly. We'll just have to wait and see. I will be competing in 2025 more than likely. I heard another figure. I can't remember what show it was. Oh, I think it was the Sugar Sean show, because I listen to like everything. They were saying that I think it was them. The figure was, the estimate is that Jon Jones made 16 million for his last fight. So for Tom Aspinall, is he talking 20? I'm thinking he's thinking like 30 million. That's just what I think, because he's looking at boxing numbers and what some of these other, like what Jake Paul is making, and he himself, he's like, dude, I'm a way better athlete than these guys. So from that perspective, he probably wants something along those lines. Then Jones goes on to say, it's been awesome. Something feels different about this win. I feel like the whole world's really excited about it. I am really excited about it. I think a lot of people are. I think some people are being haters, but the UFC has elevated it to an even higher place, and I feel at the right place at the right time. I'm grateful for it all. Okay, so that's it. He's, intentionally, I think, not really going out of his way to say Tom Aspinall's name. But anyways, it looks like I said for the longest time he was not going to fight Tom Aspinall, because I thought the UFC didn't want it. I thought the UFC was pretending they wanted it, but they didn't want it. I think maybe the UFC has changed their mind because they realize this could be a big money fight, and they're willing to put Jon Jones's legacy, up to be potentially, a little bad mark on a loss at the end. I mean, they're doing it because I think they think it's just could be such a tremendous fight. I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is going to happen? And do you
Yeah, I
want it to
do.
happen? Yeah.
So here's the thing, like it goes to that excitement factor. Like if we talk about this matchup for 6 months to a year, and that excitement, that anticipation, it's gonna wear thin. If 6 months ago we're talking about this, and finally a year later it happens, it's great. But now when Jon Jones is saying this isn't gonna happen, this isn't gonna happen, this isn't gonna happen, this isn't gonna happen, all right, it's happening in 2 months. Everyone's gonna go, holy shit! Like I think this is a sales tactic, and we talked about it prior to the Stipe fight, and I'm going to toot my own horn here. When P was asked about the Tom Aspinall fight leading up to the Stipe fight, I mentioned this all the time because I mean it was so obvious to me, and I thought it was such a great Jon Jones moment of Tom Aspinall isn't happening, Tom Aspinall isn't happening, Tom Aspinall isn't happening. He beats Stipe. All right, maybe we'll give you the fight that you guys all want. And everyone went crazy, like, oh my God, he's hinting at this Tom Aspinall fight. And it was such a great moment for a sales tactic for Jon Jones, for Dana White, for the UFC. I wouldn't be surprised if Jon Jones and Dana White, because I know that they're buddy, sat down and they're like, hey, deny this, deny this, deny this, deny this. All right, give them a little bit to get excited about. And then when it finally comes out, when Dana White is at a press conference after, a big UFC event, 310, 11, 12, whatever one it is, and like, hey, everybody, you guys are going to get the fight you want. Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones next month or in 2 months or whenever the date is. And everyone's going to lose their shit. And everyone's like, oh, fuck, this is going to be the greatest. Instead of, hey, if he beats if he beats Stipe, he is going to fight Jon Jones. It's going to lose that luster. It's going to lose that. It's going to lose that excitement piece for a lot of people. But
Mhm.
I think this is a sales tactic. I think Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones is going to happen in 2025. I think they're just building it and they're trying to find the correct ways to build it before they officially announce it.
Okay, so now I was talking to my student about this. If this does happen, let's say after 311, I'm just making this up, right? 311's happening theoretically with Islam versus Armin. It's supposed to happen in LA. If at that post-fight presser, Dana White announces it, hey guys, we announced it. Jon Jones came away with almost no injuries. He's ready to go. We're going to do this in April of 2025. All right. What do you think this fight's going to do numbers wise? Because it's going to be one of the biggest fights in the history of the UFC. But we were trying to figure out, like, all right, is it going to even come close to Conor Khabib? Is it going to, is there even a chance that it can, is it going to be over 1 million pay-per-view buys? Like, what do you think is going to be the magnitude given all this back and forth and all this nonsense?
It really just depends on who's a big Jon Jones fan. Do I think it's going to be this crazy fight that I'd be more excited about than anything? No, I mean, I'm not a huge Jon Jones fan, and I'm not a super fan of the heavyweight division. I think it's the worst division in the UFC. I think it's all watered down. Like I've said before, all the real heavyweight athletes are in the NBA. They're in the NFL. So you get these watered down athletes. And again, Jon Jones is that NBA, NFL athlete, just like his brother. That's why he has so much success in the UFC and has continued success because this guy he's an athlete amongst he's a bigger athlete than any heavyweight in the UFC. Like I said, any real heavyweight is playing for the Dallas Cowboys, making 100 million a year. Any real athletes playing for the LA, like an NBA team, like making real money. So I really feel like the heavyweight division is really watered down. And Tom Aspinall, although he's a super athlete, he's not he couldn't go play in the NBA. He couldn't go play in the NFL because he's not that athletic. He's super tough. Now, from an excitement, I mean, I think it's going to do fine, but how can you compare this build up to Conor McGregor and Habib? Man, we're talking about a guy that threw a dolly through a window, that talked trash on his family. Like Conor, no, I don't think anybody can ever compare to the buildups of Conor McGregor in his prime. Excuse me, I keep burping. I don't think anybody compared to the Conor McGregor buildups in his prime because he was so outlandish. And Jon Jones nor Tom are going to have so much more respect for each other in this buildup. They might talk a little trash at the presser, but remember, for me, I come from an old school pro wrestling fan. Like I want to see these big buildups, and I just don't think Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, besides the excitement level of the fight of finally Jon Jones is going to fight Tom Aspinall, I don't see how they're going to build this fight other than that.
Okay, so let me throw out. So I think, sadly, I think I probably agree with you that it's not going to beat Khabib Conor because that was sort of like a unicorn event. That was real rivalry, a real blood feud. They hated each other. They theoretically kind of almost tried to kill Khabib or hurt him, maim him, whatever. With that dolly is insane. But there's a new element that's at play for this fight, which is very interesting. So something that's changed in the landscape of MMA since the Conor Khabib fight is the emergence of all these big MMA YouTubers. Our buddy Jesse on Fire, MMA Guru, though, is the big one in particular. We have a lot of these guys that have come onto the scene that are getting tremendous fan bases. Now, I've argued this before, or I've thrown this out there before. One of the reasons why Jon Jones has gotten so much hate and so much negativity to the build up to the Stipe fight, I think it boils down to one guy. I think it boils down to the MMA Guru. He's the one that's put out there over and over, and he's got almost like 250,000 subscribers of like loyal fans. I'm a fan of his, but I'm not one of his like hardcore. I'll buy into whatever you say, MMA Guru type thing. But like, because I disagree with a lot of the things he said about Jon Jones, but he has just galvanized the crowd against Jon Jones for a number of things, some of them nonsensical, but like, really gone after his personal life, gone after all these things and just turned people against Jon Jones. And this might all be a weird blessing in disguise. I know MMA Guru didn't want this. He was trying to turn everybody against him. But what's happened is that Jon Jones has become incredibly disliked in the world of mixed martial arts, which is kind of a shame. But now I'm realizing he can use all of this negativity. He can use all this hate. People are coming after him for his personal life. They're saying he's ducking Tom. They're saying he wants easy fights. They're trying to take away his legacy. They're even now going back and having revisionist history and saying, okay, fine. Like, we can say the Dominic Reyes fight, that was really close. Maybe he lost that. But I always say, when people are like, Jon Jones isn't that good, he lost to Dominic Reyes. I'm like, okay, fine, he lost to Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes is really good. So what if he did lose to him? Does that destroy his legacy? No, stop being dumb. Like, fine, he would have one more loss. Big deal. Like, it's so stupid. But anyways, with all these people coming at him, and what's up, Tehran? That MMA Guru is going to be going bananas. Because he not only does he hate Jon Jones, he loves Tom Aspinall. He's friends with Tom Aspinall. He interviews him. So he's going to be going crazy, making a huge campaign for Tom Aspinall. And Jon Jones is a very underrated trash talker. But he's an amazing trash talker. His all the buildup with DC and everything was amazing. I think he can make this into something big. Will it do Habib numbers and Conor numbers where it was like 2.1 million for something insane? And especially with everybody stealing pay-per-views nowadays, I don't know. But I think this could be a really big buildup. I think it could easily beat 1 million if Jon Jones plays it right, which he will, because he's super smart. Jon Jones is incredibly cerebral. So I think this
Well,
is going to be
and he
deep.
has Dana White behind him. Like, even if, let's say Jon Jones isn't smart, let's say, he is, but let's pretend he's not. He has Dana White right there in his back pocket, can tell him and orchestrate this whole thing. Dana White's been around the UFC, the original. I mean, he's been around since the late '80s, early '90s. Like, he has seen and he's made fighters, and he's made fighters, and he's crushed careers. This guy knows the ins and outs of the business and how to get this business. Let's pretend Jon Jones isn't smart, which he is. He has Dana White there just to orchestrate this whole thing and walk him in his hand of how to make this the biggest pay-per-view sell in the organization.
And even, by the way, Jon Jones even tried to create a little bit of beef on his own, by the way, with Stipe. That was just like, it was crazy, but it kind of got a little heat. I mean, everybody was like, that was forced, whatever. But this is real. Jon Jones has already said he's annoyed and aggravated with Tom. Okay, see, the more I'm talking about, the more I'm getting excited about it.
Sure.
There's one thing though about this fight. One thing. I do not want to see Jon Jones lose. I do not want that to happen. I would be very, very disappointed and unhappy if that happens, because I just feel it would just leave a bad feeling for me. I feel like Jon Jones has earned to walk away with this great record intact. And I think people are sort of bullying him into this fight. I think Jon Jones is going to win, though. And I think he's going to go up and he's going to have this crazy thing. They're going to go up, they're going to build it up to this massive thing, and then he wins, and then he retires. Bro, that will be insane. That will be the greatest. I mean, oh yeah, Toron says Jones, he thinks Jones will beat Aspinall as well. Hell yeah, let's go, Toron. Dude, if he beats Aspinall after all the crap that people put him through, every MMA guru, all these guys, they've all challenged his legacy, talked all the smack about how terrible, like, oh, his wins weren't really that good. And he really lost to this guy, and he really lost to that guy, and just picking everything apart, doing all this nonsense. And then at the same time, putting Tom Aspinall on this amazing platform and pedestal, being like, Tom is the guy. He's the best heavyweight we've ever seen. He's going to be the most dominant. He's going to be incredible. And then he goes out. We have this huge buildup, and he beats Tom Aspinall and just walks off into the sunset. Holy smokes! This is what dreams are made of. This is what inspirational stories are all about. And say what you will about Jon Jones and the mistakes he's made, but at least he owns up to them. He talks about them, and he's trying to do the right thing. And I will say I am a fan of Jon Jones. I'm not afraid to say it. And I do think he's trying to do the right thing. And for people to just constantly beat up on him about mistakes he's made in the past, when, as far as I can tell, he's trying not to make those mistakes anymore. He's still with his feet. I mean, look, we don't know, right? But like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He's trying. He's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to be a good guy, and I believe it. And let's stop all this nonsense. And again, just like we talked about the Nikita Hand trial, where we don't know what's in her mind. We don't know how a person should behave under these extreme, moments of duress and stress. Like, let's give Jon Jones that same leniency and say, like, look, we don't know what it's like to have all this pressure and all these things going on. And like, yeah, I'm sure he's made a ton of mistakes, even that we haven't even seen. But it does appear like he's trying to come back and do the right thing. So, anyways, I'm a fan. I can't wait, and I hope that I hope it happens in the way that I've described. Let's put it like that. I will be sad if Jon Jones fights Tom Aspinall and loses. But let's say he goes out and he fights him and he wins. Oh my God. That'd be the best thing that I've seen maybe in all of MMA, perhaps. I think it might be the greatest thing I've seen in all of MMA. Okay, let me let me get some comments from Toronto, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. No matter what you do in the future, people will always bring up your past. Yeah, but then there comes a point. There comes a point when people stop. Look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is a
That's true.
convicted rape R word, and he went to prison, came back, he paid his dues. People don't really bring it up that much anymore. People have forgiven him. I think there can come a point where you can get over that hump and just be beloved. I think Jon Jones is almost there.
No, I, th
Tehran
I
says,
think a big thing with Mike Tyson turning around from his former lifestyle is he's a big advocate of hallucinogens and DMT, and he talked about watched a Tyson interview talking about his DMT experience, and he said after his DMT and hallucinogen experience, his whole thought process changed. And I saw a video yesterday of it was fucking so emotional to me because it's only a 30-second video, but they had all his belts on a table, and he's being interviewed and he looks at the interviewer is like, so like this is your legacy, like what does this all mean to you? And he goes, this means nothing to me, this is all trash, like all these belts are trash, they literally mean nothing in the whole grand scheme of the world. He goes, you could throw these in the trash. I couldn't care less. You know, what matters in life is your family and your kids and this and that. And he goes, this means absolutely nothing to me. When I was a young, hungry fighter, like, yeah, this was everything. But now that I've matured and I've realized and I've had the sense after my hallucinogen experience, this literally means absolutely nothing to me. And if you have these or not, if you have these and you have a miserable family life, you know, that means you're a miserable person. And I was like, holy shit, like he's so right. Like we're talking about Mike Tyson. This guy's been worth hundreds of millions. He's been at the highest high, he's been at the lowest low. Now he's back to, you know, being at a high after winning 20 million. And for him to come out and just be genuine and authentic and say to not only to me, but to upcoming fighters in the world, like these championships literally at the end of the day don't mean anything. And I was really blown away by that.
I think there's a quote from Jim Carrey along the same lines. He's like, I wish everybody had a chance to watch something like this, to watch all their dreams come true, because then they would realize that they had the wrong dreams. It's essentially the same idea. I think when we talk about Mike Tyson and these experiences he's had, he's you know, I feel like I've been having a spiritual awakening the last year as well. I think he's coming to this conclusion of like, wait a minute, what is this existence really on this planet? What is it? Is it all about what we achieve and accomplish here, or is it really about the spiritual growth that we get to experience, and the trials and tribulations, the negative and the positives? Is like, how are we growing and evolving from this on a spiritual level? And I think he's come to that realization that it's like, yeah, obviously everything in this life, you're stupid if you don't realize this, but everybody does. Maybe we just don't want to admit it. Everything in that we accumulate or amass in this life, we have to let go. Like, come on, it's just obvious. So the belts, the money, like houses, all these things, yeah, obviously they don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. They're just here while we're here experiencing life on this planet. So why would legacy matter either? Why do we care so much to have our name ring out and have statues of us? Because after that we pass on and we move on to the next level, the next dimension of existence. And it's what's the purpose of these relics? Like, they're completely meaningless. So I think Mike Tyson is really getting in touch with the true nature of reality. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but another point that Western Mass Climber brought up is he said Tyson did his time in prison, Jones does not. I don't think that's going to be the defining difference that's going to make people never come around on Jon Jones. I think people will come around on him eventually. By the way, he's had to endure a lot of hatred, you know, a lot of fire in the public that I think Tyson didn't have to endure. I mean, like I said, these MMA YouTubers are calling him gay. It just completely unfounded stuff, and like people are believing it. It's insanity. You know, I think he's had to endure a lot. I think one day when Jon Jones reflects on everything he's been through and had to go through and whatnot, I think it's probably been pretty horrendous. I think people are going to come around, and I think this is going to be his redemption arc. Beat Tom Aspinall. Actually, even if he loses to Tom Aspinall, I think if I think that could be not a terrible ending, and I think people will come around and give him props just for taking the fight and doing what he said he would do.